redemption. So whether you've been with Bruce since Greetings from Asbury Park, or you just met him somewhere along Western Stars, this series is for you. Fire up the turntable. Let's get lost in the lost albums. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Set Lusting Bruce, your podcast all about Bruce Springsteen, his music, mostly his fans. I am your host, Jesse Jackson. We are continuing our series of episodes where we are focusing on tracks to the lost albums. And I am so thrilled that CK has joined me. This is, I think, the third time you've joined me. And for a change of pace, CK and I are not going to be talking politics, though we had a wonderful discussion before I hit record. And I do think later this summer, we do need to have you back. But welcome back to the podcast, CK.
Thank you. I love being here and I'm excited about this session.
Yeah, so you brought a guest.
Yeah, dude, this is my husband, Jeff Kempick. He's been loving Bruce Springsteen since he was how old? The first album?
Probably when I was 18. Yeah.
Yeah. I am so thrilled you and Jeff are joining me. I think this will be a lot of fun. I've said this every time, but normally when I do my Perfectly Good podcast, the John Hyatt episode, Sylvan does just the facts. So I'm having to do that. So here is LA Garage Sessions is what we're talking about tonight, an album that Springsteen describes in the liner notes as a critical bridge between Nebraska and Born in the USA. He also says, I was still a little gun shy of fame. I was unsure whether to immediately release Born in the USA after Nebraska. I spent a good part of the next year in California working on an alternate record. This was the record that those LA 83 demos are the results of. These are solo home recordings, as Nebraska was. Springsteen does all the singing and playing himself with no overdubs by other musicians added later. After Nebraska, he did upgrade his recording equipment, though, so there's a greater variety of sounds here, and the tracks are more professional sounding. And the songs are, in general, catchier than the dark story songs and late meditations of Nebraska. So we're really looking forward to talking about this one. I'm going to start with, first off, you guys introduce yourselves, tell a little bit about yourself, and then let's talk about why you wanted to talk about this album.
Sure. I'm CK Westbrook. I'm a science fiction author and environmentalist that lives and works in Washington, D.C.
I'm Jeff Kempick. I work in Washington, D.C., and I've been a Bruce Springsteen fan for a long time and seen a number of shows.
Did you guys get to see any of this tour?
Three of the three shows on the most recent tour in the U.S.
Oh, nice. Very nice. For those of you who are listening, CK has the biggest smile on her face because she knows how.
I think Bruce would agree with a lot of what we've previously been saying.
I absolutely think he would too, as well. So, of all the albums, why did you guys decide you wanted to talk about this one?
Okay, I picked this one. As soon as you put out an email about this, I was like, oh my gosh, because I listened to Bruce Springsteen as a kid, and a lot of it was like played constantly on the radio. It was like the background music of my childhood from like birth until I was like 12 or something. But Nebraska, I really loved. Maybe I was like a little bit older, teenager, and I got so into it that I listened to it constantly. Teenagers do that, right? Every word, everything. And then after that, Born in the USA came out, which I really loved too. So I feel like those are my two albums that I got turned on to Bruce by myself without it just being ubiquitous and everywhere. So when I saw this, and we've discussed before, Deliver Me from Nowhere, which you recommended to me to read, I love that book. So that was in that same period of the harsh darkness of Nebraska. And then of course, Born in the USA is also dark. So I picked it, and I'm just going to say, but do you want to say anything about it? Because I didn't give you a choice.
No, it was definitely one of the interesting ones to consider just because of that sort of Nebraska, this very dark album, and then being on the cusp of then releasing an album that basically sent him into superstardom. So it has this interesting mix of being in the middle between something that's very introspective, dark, and then to something that suddenly just, fame just explodes everywhere.
Yeah, I'm so glad you enjoyed the book. I am looking forward to the movie. If they do as good a job on the movie as Warren did on the book, I think this is going to be really entertaining. And I had told CK that to me, it read like a mystery of why did he have to make this type of album. So I love the idea that this LA Garage is the first album off the track. I'm a mark, as they say. I not only bought a physical copy, but I bought the digital so that I have it right away. And so Follow That Dream kicks it off. And I grew up loving Elvis as a kid. It was, I had a best friend who loved Elvis in the 70s and all this stuff. So hearing that start was just a great beginning to me. So I think we're going to go through track by track. And so let's kick off with Follow That Dream.
You want to start?
You, sir.
Okay, so I loved Follow That Dream, and same kind of thing. I've kicked off, oh, what's this going to be about? It is optimistic. And it was, so I was thinking in my mind, okay, so he's driving to California, he's just done Nebraska, in New Jersey, he is following a dream, right? It's like he was, and it also has that kind of that California dreamy kind of attitude too, like it's a city where dreams come true. So I really like that one, and I would say hopeful. A few other songs really hopeful, and then it turns to dark.
Yeah.
Did you want to add anything?
No, I like that. I like that. It's stylistically a bit different than most of the rest of the songs in the album, I think. In terms much more of like the songs on the rising in terms of that sort of genre of songs of his, in terms of if you were to place it, that would be where I think it might go best if you're trying to fit into an existing album. But yeah, I really like that song as well. I did like the basing off on the Elvis song as well.
Yeah. I guess overall thoughts on the album. I jumped ahead going to the first track, but yeah, do you want to share a little bit of your overall thoughts?
I would just say that like the first three songs or so are like more up, and I could just see him in my mind, like going to California and shaking off some of the like Nebraska. But man, by Johnny Bye Bye, Sugarland, Seven Tears, he's back into that gritty reality, compassion that he writes these beautiful stories about. So I feel like it was like a mix to me of Nebraska and Born in the USA. Like almost every song to me, like that sounds like something. And there's some of them reference Vietnam, some of them reference straight up sound like they could be off Nebraska as you move along. And I think there's one maybe other optimistic kind of up song, which is not common for Bruce, but I feel like, and I would also say a lot of this, not a lot, a few of the songs definitely sound unfinished and rough. We knew that going in, right? That these are rough songs, but
No,
yeah.
It's a garage session, so it seems like in some places they're experimenting with styles. You have a couple versions of the same song within here, and you can see the pacing of the song is different when in the two different versions. So it's just so we can say, is it going to be this structure or that structure? And it's got a lot of songs about the past coming back to haunt you or potentially haunt you, as well as the sort of the like Johnny Bye Bye and others, where you're on the brink of something and it could go either way. There could be a good side or the dark side, and you're at this cliff, and then which way do you go?
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. It's, I think, the longest release on this. And today I had it on repeat and was enjoying it. All right, track two, Don't Back Down on Our Love. Thoughts on that one?
That one to me is also like positive. I think as an author, I just like the genre, the themes of having a dream and then needing a helping hand and how hard things can be, but you don't give up. Very Bruce Springsteen, and no matter how dark things are. So I liked both of them. I think I liked Follow the Dream a little bit more, but they're both good songs.
Yeah. Okay. Little Girl Like You. I thought this was fun. Yeah, you talked about being a little more optimistic. And so I thought I like the pacing of it, the idea of I want this dream, the American dream, right? The house, picket fence, the family. I liked this, and I thought poppy and catchy. Yeah.
I had a little bit of a like Mexican, I don't know how to explain it. Maybe it wasn't really mariachi, but there's definitely a much more of a California musical ensemble sounding to it. And I agree. Optimistic, fun, happy song. It's so short. It's only 1 minute and 22 seconds. So I feel like it's one of the ones I put unfinished. Like I feel like another verse would have pulled it together a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, and Brian Wilson just died as we're recording this a couple of weeks ago. And he was known when, like, he was doing Smile, that he would do little parts of songs and then would almost do like a jigsaw, like where this could be this. And you wonder if that was Bruce, like in his mind, okay, I've got a little bit of an idea, I've got a little go, I'm going to put it on tape. And then will I go back later and do something else with this? Will this expand into a different kind of song somewhere? But yeah, I think part of it is because it's so snappy and it's so quick. It's just a kind of nice little shot of energy. So I don't know if Johnny Bye Bye is the most copied song of Bruce's of his own, but he certainly does seem to keep playing with this. Joe Stravinsky, the guy who created Babylon 5, and this is a famous quote, but he was the first person who said it, art is never finished, only abandoned. And I feel like Bruce just like, one of these days I'm going to get Johnny Bye Bye. So thoughts on this one?
This one's definitely the in terms of the very appropriate for being in between Nebraska and Born in the USA, where basically he actually finds out the price of fame, or it becomes with
Yeah.
Born in the USA, it becomes very big and everything changes for him. And this sort of has that tentativeness or fear or nervousness about what's going to happen and what could happen. And so I think it's like just very timely with it in terms of knowing the time it was recorded and knowing what it's in between. To me, it really is that the bridge song in my mind between the two albums.
Yeah, I think so too.
And for people who haven't seen the lyrics, straight up says Elvis Presley died, and then I'm not sure if it was Elvis or whoever dies next to a drain at the end. So I don't know if that's supposed to be Elvis as well, but it gets happy again and then a little dark.
Yeah.
It's an up tempo, but for still somewhat they're showing the dark side of the potential of fame.
Yeah, I think so too. So we leave our happiness for a minute and go to Sugarland. Sugarland feels like to me, and just this like a John Ford like short story, or Leonard Elmore, the idea of fighting against the land, and the idea of we glorize the rural and American farmers, and there's so much that we don't do to support them. So see, we'll get a little political no matter what. And so I just thought this one was, once again, I think Bruce is really good at putting himself, creating a story, creating a persona, and putting himself in those shoes. So any thoughts on this one?
I would just add to that, again, thinking about him driving across the country and dealing with some of his depression and existential crisis or whatever he was having. The going positive, then going reality. This song is very sad. It's very dark. It's very like realistic. And it's just, yeah, I liked your explanation. And I feel like that's Bruce, right? He's very emotional.
Because, especially we're driving to the middle of the country, you're going to be getting into these big farming areas that were in the past have been hit by the Dust Bowl in the central part of the country. So therefore, he does a good job of evoking this journey as well, in terms of he's going on his journey, going to LA, and then capturing a story from the heartland of the US.
Yeah, and the idea that our narrator is at a bar, knows he shouldn't be. He's the tractor and combines out in the cold, sheds piled high with wheat we ain't sold, silos filled with last year's crop. If something don't break here, we're all gonna drop. And I can just see the wife, I need you home. We need you here. And he's just losing himself And I think this is a little bit of maybe his dad, because he's told the story of going to the bar in New Jersey and getting his dad. Mom says it's time to go home. Yeah, it's certainly not a happy song, but I think it's a really powerful song and it's well done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it reminds me a little, I'm forgetting which one it is, of a Nebraska song. Like if it had gone a little bit darker, it would have been a Nebraska song. Like maybe if the shotgun had been pulled out or something. Yeah.
I agree. All right. So then we go to Seven Tears.
Yeah, so there you go. That's a happy sounding song, which Bruce Springsteen is very good at. Then you look at the lyrics and you go, that's not very happy. I like it. It's snappy. It's one that you grab onto quickly when you're listening to them. But yeah, seven tears tattoo for 7 years have gone by and everything that he's lost. Yeah.
It's definitely one of the ones where another ones where I thought maybe it was unfinished, because it was like it almost felt like there's a little bit more to the story that we didn't get to hear yet. That it's like what happened, or like in a more typical Bruce song, you have the whole story laid out, and this one sort of leaves you going, what did happen, or what caused it, and like maybe there's another couple sets of lyrics that would really fill out the song completely.
Yeah, and it is another short one, 1:51. And yeah, it has that. I love as you guys are talking about, right? You're in that feeling. And one of the things that I love when Bruce does, or John Hyatt, or any songwriter, is when you take the poppy, and this isn't poppy, but the upbeat song with the down lyrics and do that. Kind of Born in the USA, the lyrics when he does the rock anthem is this thing of triumph, even though it's a song of despair. And as we're recording this, it's the day before the 4th of July, and that song will be played across this great land with fireworks going, and we will always go, do they know what it means? So yes. Fugitive Dreams was the first song I'm going to have to live with a little bit before I have a ruling on it. I'm not saying I don't like it. I think I'm going to have to spend some time with it. Thoughts on that one?
This is one where you have two different versions of it, and I like the first version on the album better than the second version. It's actually the tempo. You can see where he's playing with tempo, because the drum beat is so much faster on the first version, and it ends up being like, I think 9 seconds shorter than the other version as well. And so the whole tempo of the song is different. So this where to me is a garage session where let me try it this way. Oh, let me try it in a different way and seeing what works best. So I like it from that perspective in terms of giving you an idea of sort of his thinking about how do you put the song together and which way will the song play best.
Yeah, and that I think is always interesting when we can see that how you're making the sausage, right? And try to see what he's doing. Yeah.
And I want to know what happened, right? So he has this good life. Somebody comes along and says, I remember something from your past. He wrestles with it, then he takes off, and then I don't think they really give a conclusion. He's dreaming, but it doesn't say what he did, why he really left, and what he's doing now. So I would put that into an unfinished category.
Yeah, it has a bit of, in terms of you don't really get an idea of the ending of it. But there's a lot of in this on the album have these troubled past, or the past coming back to haunt you, and maybe that's also a prelude for what's going to happen next in terms of, again, being in the period between Nebraska and Born in the USA. There's which direction am I going? And this is something like, is there a direction, or did I make the right direction years in the past? So I think there's some of that factored into it as well.
Yeah, I think so too. And it is this, in an alternate universe where he would have put this album out, it would have been very interesting to see how this would have affected his career. Black Mountain Ballad, another kind of sad one. I want to weep, but the tears won't run. I want to sleep, but the sleep don't come. I think this is another very slow but mournful ballad. What's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I'd agree. It's got that it's very evocative breakup, like, or not necessarily a breakup song, but a relationship dissolving. in
Yeah,
terms of, you get that feeling from it, and it's done, and it's very much slower pace and very almost mournful, I would say, in terms of the way it plays out with the lyrics and the music sort of mirroring each other as well.
yeah, I agree.
And I would add that I thought at first, again, it was going to be an upbeat, happy one until she leaves him. And then I was like, oh, okay. And also I have a note here, and I can't remember what it is, Downbound Train. So is this,
I think some of the lyrics went in.
right, some of the lyrics went into Downbound Train. So he did,
Yeah.
like any artist does, pick and choose different things and put them in different places. So
Yeah.
I have to go back and listen to that song and see what.
Yeah, that's interesting to how he built the sausage and did that. So yeah, I'll have to listen some time and catch that. That's pretty good. I grew up listening to Johnny Cash and Merle Haggard because my dad loved them. And so having someone sing from a prison is something that I grew up listening to. So Jim Deere feels like I'm coming home. And I just I stole from the law, I stole from her paw, I probably stole from you. It's just a great line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So young and stupid and like high on life and happily married, and let's just go out and do something crazy and blow it all up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my dad was also a big Johnny Cash fan, so yeah, it definitely evoked that for me as well in terms of just the lyrics as well. It was very structured, very much like, oh yeah, I could see Johnny Cash doing that song as well from Folsom County Prison.
Yeah. I also just the touch of Raising Arizona, the comedy where they he goes and robs the thing and gets diapers as well. Yeah. And there is that kind of from Nebraska, the judge, he's often done this, been born in the USA. The judge put me right away on Darlington County and then on Johnny 99, the thing. So yeah, I think this is a long tradition. So I realize County Fair is not a great epic, but when it was on the little release of tracks, I loved that song and I love it here. It just the idea of spending time with family, eating corn dogs, smelling the smell, seeing all the animals. It brings to mind what we want simple small town living to be in a Hallmark movie or like an Andy Griffith, Mayberry. So thoughts on this one?
I agree with all that, and I would add happy nostalgia. Everybody went
Yeah.
to the county fair. Everyone's had a great time. But two things that are Bruce and realistic that caught my attention in the song was like when he says, sitting on his lawn, watching the people come and go from the county fair. Like a lot of times where I grew up, the people who lived closest to the county fairgrounds were not well off. Like sometimes they would rent their yards for parking, and there'd be cars like all different kinds. And I even went to the Iowa State Fair a couple of years ago, and there's a lot of Lyfts and Ubers coming in, and it was still that same way. And I feel like Bruce would notice that. He would notice all the fun, but he would also notice the people that live nearby that were still enjoying it, but they're talking about it. And second of all, losing your car, I think he references in the parking lot, where in the county fair, that's such an easy thing to do, right? Because there's no markers. It's just miles of grass and it's 100 degrees. And I love that part. Those are two little details that Bruce would do.
So the State Fair of Texas is in Dallas every fall, and it is in Fair Park, and it is surrounded by some of the most low income houses. And you're right, there are people that you park in their yard. They charge you $20 or whatever, and you park your yard and you walk to the thing. So yeah, that is a great memory. And yes, I have lost my car at a Bruce concert, right? Now, where was this again? What was it? Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So what are the thoughts of this version of My Hometown?
I will let you go first because you have more
This may be my least favorite song in the album. It's the key seems higher. His voice seems very rough and hoarse. If I was telling Corey, I go, if you asked me blind to listen to this song and guess the year it was recorded based on how his voice sounded, I would have guessed like 2023, not
Yeah.
1983.
Yes.
And so it is probably, and it's also maybe because I like the other version a lot better as well, but it's probably in my mind also doesn't match well with the rest of the songs in the album either. So it seems a bit of an outlier. And then there are other things with it that weren't my favorite. So it's, as I said, probably my least favorite song on the album.
Yeah. One of the things I, when someone sent me like one of the early versions of Thunder Road when it was still Wings for Wheels, you'd go, it just isn't quite right. It's just, it's off kilter a little. It just
Mhm.
did, yeah. And so I felt this one, I did notice his voice straining, and the bones of that great song is there. And hearing it, I think of when he was on the podcast with President Obama, and he played a little bit of it and said, pretty good song. And Obama goes, great song. So yeah. CK, thoughts?
I would just say, which album is My Hometown on?
Born in USA.
Born in USA. Okay. Yeah. So I feel like maybe the song means a lot to him. Like that's why it's a little
Yeah.
bit more ragged. Maybe the words, maybe the whole thing. It's more like when he says pretty good song, but maybe it means something to him. And
Yeah.
Oh, it definitely seems,
Deeply.
yeah, it's talking
Yeah.
about his growing up. So yeah, it's definitely,
Yeah.
it's a
you know,
little bit
that
more
works.
raw. It's more raw. And then in the song, it sounds raw.
Yeah. And you know what's right? And then he's finishing to twink it. But I thought it's once again, it's an interesting artifact to see that how he was thinking of this song and doing it then. It's almost like if you hear the Glory Days with the extra verse thrown in there that ends up because I don't think it took. Yeah. All
Yeah, it
right.
does have that effect of, yeah, getting to see the earlier version and how it progressed as well.
Yeah, I agree. One Love.
Oh, that one's upbeat, happy,
Yes.
dream, but it's a good one. It's like nice after the darkness to be like have something that's just joyful.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's one of my favorites. It reminds me a lot of Rosalita in terms of songs. It's upbeat and good and the up tempo.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was placed well too. That after we'd gone and then we get Country Fair, County Fair, my hometown, and then I really like Don't Back Down. So I think that worked a nice little as he's building this experience, giving us some different tempos and then two kind of nice. And so I like that one-two punch.
Right. Yep. But Don't Back Down is the same as Don't Back Down on Our Love, right? The lyrics are the same.
Yeah.
Because there's a
Yeah.
couple of them that got repeated.
Yeah, you can do it again. It's as I said, it's like being a garage session. That definitely seems to me like I'm trying it this way, I'm trying it that way, and then
Yeah.
trying to decide which version you might like better or not.
Yeah, I agree. Richfield Whistle. So
I liked it because it's part two, right? To Jim Deere.
yes.
Or the counter to it.
They're the counter. So he gets out of jail, finds his wife, who he just took off and left her there, and then he's happy and he still has these thoughts. I want to run off and do something crazy, but he doesn't. He even starts it, right? I'm 32 or whatever it is. It's like 10 years later. So he's matured, but I think he considered doing it, right? I can't remember.
I think he considers but doesn't, and then so he does. So it's a temptation type thing where he avoids temptation, whereas Jim Deere did not. So that's why I said it's the counter to it, or the split in terms of one went this way, one went that way.
Yeah,
when he's in that liquor store or the gas station, you're like, oh no, that was really well written suspense in a song. Could have went either way.
It does, it does capture that sort of that moment of temptation or
frustration,
or the pressure and and how do you give in or not give in?
Yeah. Klansman is one that had a lot of noise beforehand, right? There had been and now I'm not a bootleg person, just because I only have so much time. So I just have been someone who does not look for a lot of bootlegs. So almost every song on this is new to me, unless it had been released in an official release. But this is once again a pretty interesting story. Your guys' thoughts?
wow. We were just saying he was listening to it and I was like, but he says, son, one day you'll wear the robes too. And he was like, what? And we had to listen to it again because I was like, wow, that is super dark. But it's so like crazy that he wrote this in what, 83? And it could be just as timely today, like even more so because it's become racism is back in style, literally, and it's less protected. So I felt like this song was just very dark, very deep, very well written for what he was making the statement about.
Yeah, and it's the idea too that this is passed down from parent to child to parent to child, whether it's racism, whether it's child abuse. This is the I I was reading the review of one of the episodes of this is us, right? Yeah, with and hurt people. And this is hurt people. And when their holy rain of fire comes tumbling from above, and they're saying that this Klansman is going to be they're the hero of this story, which is certainly in the tradition of Nebraska, where the story is the killer. Pretty gutsy, and I think you're right on. Very timely, which is sad. But it is the way it goes. Yeah.
And anywhere along the line, this could have been a song like, oh, it was the 80s, it's from
Yeah.
the past, move on.
Yeah. And we talk about that it truly wasn't that long ago. I turned 66 last month, and I remember things that just seems like it should be forever ago, but it's within my lifetime. Yeah, absolutely. All right, Unsatisfied Heart.
This is this is one of my top favorite songs on this album. Yeah, I really like this one. As I was telling her, it reminded me of dealing with temptation or redemption in terms of it reminded me of the song in Hamilton called Satisfied, where he's never satisfied. And this is a similar theme where can he live with what he's got, or is he going to run off and go do something stupid? And so it reminded me so I like how it describes sort of the whole temptation and whether he's going to give in to it or not. And
Yeah.
again, it parallels with the Hamilton song where again,
Could never be satisfied. It can live that way. Yeah. I liked it too. I feel like it again is like an artist or like in his mind, like what the choices and decisions he was making. I'm sure even like some of these songs I'm making on an album was unsatisfying to him and he put it more passionately in a song.
There are things in life that stick with you. And we were back home in Lake Charles, Louisiana, my wife and I, and we went to a Saturday afternoon mass. And there was a priest there, and he talked about that every time you choose to do something, you're also choosing not to do something. And that was so simple, but I'd never really thought of it that way. That if you choose to diet, you're choosing not to possibly enjoy some of your favorite foods. And it is, we go back to living his own skin, who can't stand the company, right? So this guy is there in many ways, he has everything he could want. Yet there's this, as he said, this unsatisfied heart. And what are you looking for? And do you need that excitement? Do you need something else? When in truly happy people find a way to be content. And that's not sad, not just settling. It's just understanding your blessing. So yeah, I think it's another good song and really well done. Yeah. Shut Out the Light is one we've heard before. I always think it's a good song. Any thoughts about that one?
From my notes from one of the reviews or so, they said it was an outtake from Born in the USA. So it almost was in the album, and I think it does deal with Vietnam. I can't remember totally.
Yeah.
It definitely seems, in terms of if you're looking how this album is in between the two, it definitely seems more heading more in that Born in the USA direction in terms of the song and as well as the music with it as well. So it's a interesting progression in terms of how the album definitely towards the end got more Born in the USA-ish, and you had a lot of the
Yeah.
Nebraska stuff more towards the early part in the front. So it seems like you can almost see a chronological movement or within the songs as well as the way they're cataloged here is, all right, we're coming from Nebraska and now we're heading to Born in the USA.
Yeah. The other thing I thought of in The Green Mile, both the book and the movie, where Coffee says, this huge guy, I'm afraid of the dark. Will you guys keep a light on? And this, you could see this veteran and the post-traumatic stress that don't shut out the light, don't shut out the light. And yeah, it's a powerful song that, and I do think it's been used in a film or two. So
Never know with Bruce, he gives his
yeah,
music away. He
he
shares it.
does.
Sometimes you're
Yes.
like shocked. You're like, I love that song, and then you find out Bruce wrote it. Yep.
Yes, exactly. And then we already talked about Fugitive Dream. This is a different version of it. I think you both had said you preferred the first version better. But I do think it's neat, once again, over 20 years ago, the Beach Boys put out a box set that was filled with songs that Brian had worked on, and there were different things. And it was great to hear this as they're building the songs in the different ways that us music nerds, Springsteen nerds or Beach Boy nerds, oh yeah, I want to see how it's J. Michael Straczynski wrote a book, Be a Writer, Stay a Writer, and one of the chapters deals with editing. And the whole book, he shows all the edits. The whole chapter is he writes it and then he shows each edit and kind of talks about why he did it to show how important editing was, which is something you well know as a writer.
Oh yeah, the hard
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, and he knows he's my beta reader. He's been there for
Yeah.
many iterations.
Yeah. It's 74 minutes. I just think it's really cool that we've gotten this and seeing this side of Bruce. Other thoughts on the overall album you want to share?
I would say we have not listened to any of the other ones because it was a lot of songs to think about in a short amount of time, but we were super excited when it came out on Friday as well, last Friday. But we haven't even started the dive into everything else. And I know you have, so that's something to look forward to. And I would say too, in one of the little promo videos that Bruce made for this, where he says, track 1 was all of my music. Track 2, here's the missing part. And now you got to wait for track 3. And I was like, ooh, just getting excited that there's going to be a track 3.
Yeah. Yeah. What I did is I listened it all through and first without just casually listening. And now what I've done is the day I'm going to re-interview with someone, I do listening to that one just totally. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to first. Thank you guys so much. You mentioned you've already heard the Inyo, and Laura and David both said the same thing. They recorded Monday night, so they said we got it on Friday. We have not listened to anything else because we wanted to do what's right, and so now we can't wait to listen to the other. So I appreciate you guys doing the same thing. And yeah, it is such a gift that we just have this, and I've loved the day of the boxing. Somebody on Facebook complained about the box. And is anyone really going to keep this box? And what was funny is when I opened it, my son's, wow, what a cool, you need to keep that box. That's pretty cool, Dad. So I wanted to go, I have a 36-year-old son who thinks it's a good idea.
Art is subjective, right? We worship
Yeah.
Bruce Springsteen, and other people are like, you really like Bruce Springsteen? It's just crazy. And
It
he does
is.
keep giving us these gifts, and he is a remarkable human being, so we are very lucky.
Yeah, it's also nice to fill in sort of the gap, all the different gaps. So this sort of, this one being sort of a nice bridge in terms of between two big albums, but then some other ones where everybody thought nothing was going on, but there were these albums, but they just weren't released until now. And so you get to get a sort of a fuller picture of the overall, his overall portfolio.
Yeah.
What he was doing.
It's genius.
Yeah. I don't think you guys have gotten to hear yet. Diego joined me with Jake for the Philly sessions. And Diego is a musician, and he says, I have busted my ass and have just put out my 7th album. This guy releases 7 albums that he's kept in his closet.
I know. He's amazing. An amazing human being.
Yeah.
Amazing artist.
Yeah. CK, do you have 7 novels that are just sitting in the closet that you're like, they aren't quite up to my level?
No, actually, I'm coming up on 6, but that's taken a long time. But no, an album's just the history of Nebraska, how he did it like 7 different times. And then he went with a little track tape and said, let's just go with the cassette. I mean, that's brilliant.
It is brilliant. It is brilliant. All right, we got a few minutes. I do have to, I'm sorry, guys, skip ahead 5 minutes if you don't want to hear this. But when I heard what Bruce said on the first night of the tour, my heart just felt, yes. I know you are an advocate for this earth, not for a particular policy, not for a particular party. You are an advocate for this earth. So do you want to share some feelings when you heard what he said?
I was thrilled. It's brave. It's so brave what he did and what he was saying. And he's like a statesman now. And he can say things that nobody else can say. And he knows how to speak for all the people who do not have a voice because they're afraid of getting fired or they're afraid of being evicted from the country so he just made me like, I love him, but I really loved him after hearing that.
Yes.
And then he was attacked for it. He's Bruce Springsteen and he can take it.
Yeah, go ahead. That's all right. That's nice. All right. Tell us how we can find you if we need to, and please promote your work.
Really fast. CK Westbrook, science fiction author of the Impact series. 4 books out: The Shooting, The Collision, The Judgment, and The Aftermath. All available on Barnes & Noble, Amazon, anywhere you can buy books in every format. My website is ckwestbrook.com if you want to check it out and see what they're about. And I think Bruce Springsteen would love my books. They are political. They are science fiction. So it's usually got a political, environmental bent, questioning choices and decisions from guns to the environment to how we're treating space to how we treat the environment. So I think he would like them.
I think he would too. And yes, go check out the website, check out the books, and check out her. If you've not heard her earlier discussions, go back and check out those episodes because we had a lot of fun. All right, we're going to do this again sometime soon.
My next book's coming out end of this year.
There we go.
By then we'll have listened to all the albums.
Very nice. Yes. And thank you for bringing him along. That was a lot of, thank you. We love this. All right, listeners, please let us know what you're thinking. setlustingbruce@gmail.com. Send me your thoughts, send me your feelings. And yeah, you're right. We got tracks 3 on the way, which is unbelievable. I can't believe it. But for now, everyone, be safe, be kind, and we'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Jesse.
Thank you. And we're done. Perfect. I just love this.
That was so much fun.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through Bruce's lost treasures. If this album stirred something in you, memories, questions, or fresh appreciation, we want to hear about it. Drop us a note at setlustingbruce@gmail.com, or even better, leave a 5-star review on your favorite podcast app. It helps fellow Springsteen fans discover the show and keeps this community growing strong. Until next time, keep your ears open, your hearts full, and remember, every Springsteen song has a story, and yours might be next.